the huge areas of the Earth where only minimal archaeological investigations have ever been carried out.
Images are flooding social media with a huge stone wall, bigger than the famous megaliths of Baalbek.
Deep within the Shoria Mountains, explorers stumbled upon a site that defied logic. Gigantic stone blocks, some weighing more than 3,000 tons, assembled with an impossible precision.
Found in the frozen wilderness of Siberia, its massive blocks, straight lines, and smooth surfaces look almost impossible for ancient humans to have built in a place where just surviving was a challenge.
Sidorov and his team said Gornaya Shoria could be a keyhole into a forgotten, hyper-advanced civilization, which, if you happen to be a rock nerd, you already know is one of the hardest rocks known to humans.
Could this be a lost Ice Age civilization, and why hasn't archaeology found anything like it? The impossible wall. They rise from the frozen mountains like a challenge to reason itself. In the remote wilderness of southern Siberia's Gornaya Shoria, where the Altai and Sayan ranges collide, photographs began surfacing online of something no one expected: what looks like a colossal stone wall. Stacked along jagged ridges between 700 and 1,200 meters above sea level, the stones form straight, geometric layers that stretch for hundreds of feet. From certain angles, they appear impossibly precise, like the blueprint of an ancient civilization that left no trace. The scale is almost unimaginable. Some blocks are estimated to measure 20 meters long and 7 meters tall. If these numbers are anywhere near correct, each stone could weigh between 2,000 and 4,000 tons. For perspective, the largest stone at Baalbek in Lebanon, a site often called one of history's engineering marvels, weighs only 1,260 tons. These Siberian stones would be roughly 3 times heavier, yet they sit perched in a frozen, mountainous wilderness that sees winter for most of the year. Moving something like this today would require cranes, teams of engineers, and months of planning. How could it have been done thousands of years ago? And yet, no university has claimed the discovery. No peer-reviewed journal has published a report. No certified archaeological team has touched the site. Instead, the images spread online through blogs, YouTube channels, and Reddit threads. Many are attributed to independent Russian explorers such as Georgy Sidorov, a name endlessly repeated in alternative history circles, yet unverified in scientific literature. Overnight, the photos went viral. Dramatic headlines labeled the formation the Lost Wall or the Siberian Megalith. What had been a niche geological curiosity became a global conversation. Social media comparisons began almost immediately. Side-by-side images likened the formation to Stonehenge, the pyramids, and even Machu Picchu. Each comparison made the Siberian Wall appear taller, heavier, and more imposing than humanity's known achievements. Views skyrocketed. Reddit threads debated whether it was natural or man-made for days. YouTube channels dissected every angle, zooming into shadows, corners, and flat faces. And yet, the more people looked, the less certain anyone could be. The absence of context fuels the mystery. There are no excavation markers, no visible tool marks, no ruins nearby, no debris, and no artifacts that could be carbon dated. No inscriptions hint at the builders, and no surrounding settlements suggest human habitation. Yet from certain perspectives, the structure appears deliberate. Smooth vertical faces, sharp corners, and horizontal layers stacked with geometric intent. It is as if the stones themselves are posing questions humans cannot yet answer. Official archaeology remains silent. No field reports have been released. No carbon dating or laboratory analysis has been published. Millions can see the images, debate them, and theorize, but no verified scientific study confirms what they are looking at. And the questions only grow. How could blocks this massive be moved, carved, or placed in an environment where winter dominates 8 months of the year and permafrost hardens the ground into solid ice? Why build here, thousands of kilometers from known ancient settlements or trade routes? The formation presents features that seem at odds with natural geology. It exhibits straight lines where mountains usually curve. Flat faces emerge where erosion typically leaves jagged surfaces. Layers appear stacked, as if intentionally arranged, rather than randomly tumbled by gravity. Every visual cue the human brain associates with construction is present, but every piece of supporting archaeological evidence is absent. Some online observers began calling it an archaeological impossibility. The phrase captures the tension. It looks human-made, yet it exists where human construction should not. The images act like a digital Rorschach test. Some see ancient engineering, others see natural formations. Yet all agree it demands explanation. And because no formal investigations exist, theories proliferate unchecked. Every shadow could be erosion or carving. Every straight edge could be a natural joint or deliberate shaping. Absence of evidence becomes a kind of fuel for imagination. If these blocks are truly as massive as claimed, the logistical questions are staggering. Moving them would require technology far beyond what any known ancient Siberian culture possessed. Even today, such a task would test modern engineering teams. Yet the formation remains untouched, perched in extreme isolation, challenging assumptions about human history and natural processes. Siberia itself only deepens the enigma. The Gornaya Shoria region is rugged, cold, and largely inaccessible. Snow and ice dominate for most of the year. The terrain is steep, prone to avalanches, and almost impossible to traverse without specialized equipment. Any archaeological expedition would face months of preparation, life-threatening weather, and terrain that tests even experienced mountaineers. The difficulty of access may explain why the site remains unstudied and why speculation continues to thrive online. No archaeologist has confirmed the wall's origins. Experts caution that photos alone cannot settle the question. It could be natural, but certain details resist simple explanation. And yet, as the internet continues to dissect each frame, the formation looms like a silent question, a monument without a record, a puzzle frozen in ice. The mystery is not just the wall itself, it is the space between what we know and what we can imagine. And for those who study human history, it presents a challenge that cannot be ignored. How do we reconcile what we can see with what we believe to be possible? Every angle, every block, every shadow keeps pushing the question forward. And as long as the site remains unexplored by professionals, speculation and awe will continue to grow. What is hidden beneath the frost and stone may rewrite what we think we know about human ingenuity or about the power of nature to imitate it. Why ancient Siberians couldn't build this? Something about the images didn't sit right. Flat surfaces stretched across frozen ridges, sharp right-angle corners cut into stone like a mason's precision, and some blocks appeared drilled with perfect circular holes, round enough to suggest machinery, yet clearly ancient. Certain sections even looked melted, exposed to temperatures no ordinary weathering could explain. Some amateur explorers claimed compass readings near the formation went haywire, hinting at magnetic anomalies that shouldn't exist around ordinary granite. None of these claims has been verified. Yet online, these images transformed the conversation. What was once a strangely regular rock formation became a proposed artifact of advanced ancient technology. Straight lines suggested planning. Flat faces implied deliberate shaping. And suddenly, millions of people were debating whether human hands had defied nature in one of Earth's harshest environments. The problem is immediate and stark. Mainstream archaeology has no record of any Siberian culture capable of this. Shaping granite at the scale these images seem to show demands serious tools. Bronze or iron chisels are required to withstand repeated impacts against one of the hardest stones on the planet. Copper saws paired with abrasive sand can cut dense rock, but only with precision and labor. Hammers made of harder stones, organized quarrying operations, and transport infrastructure capable of moving multi-thousand-ton blocks would all be essential. And none of this exists in the archaeological record here. Humans have lived in Siberia for tens of thousands of years, but there is no evidence of quarries in Gornaya Shoria. No wooden rollers, sledges, or river barges capable of hauling massive stones. No tool marks, no camps, no worker settlements, no artifacts that can be dated to potential construction periods. Where there should be evidence, there is only silence. Compare this to known megalithic sites. At Baalbek in Lebanon, researchers documented Roman, or possibly earlier Phoenician engineering, using bronze and iron tools, labor forces in the thousands, and detailed logistics to move stones weighing over 1,260 tons. Stonehenge's bluestones were traced to quarries more than 200 kilometers away, with transport routes mapped along rivers and over land, and nearby construction camps identified. The Egyptian pyramids offer even more: tool marks, workers' villages, payroll records, and hieroglyphs detailing construction phases. Gornaya Shoria offers none of this. If these formations are artificial, they represent construction without context, engineering without evidence, and architecture without archaeology. Then, there is the environment itself. Siberia is brutal. Temperatures routinely fall below -40 degrees Celsius. Snow blankets the land for 6 to 8 months a year, making outdoor labor nearly impossible. Rivers freeze solid, removing water transport. Permafrost dominates the terrain, a frozen foundation that expands and contracts with seasonal changes, cracking stone, shifting boulders, and destabilizing even the heaviest objects over time. Permafrost is not a minor inconvenience. Modern engineers struggle to build stable structures on it using concrete and steel, with advanced foundation techniques. Ancient stone blocks, however precisely fitted, would face relentless forces designed to break them apart. For a wall or platform to survive thousands of years in these conditions without collapsing or fragmenting seems, to many structural engineers, physically improbable. Yet the images suggest the formation stands. Its scale alone defies the logistics of pre-industrial construction. Blocks weighing thousands of tons cannot move by muscle alone. They require levers, ramps, pulleys, or methods we have yet to identify. The largest granite blocks in the Great Pyramid weigh about 80 tons and demanded thousands of workers, meticulous planning, and a stable civilization with an agricultural surplus to sustain labor. If the Siberian stones truly weigh between 2,000 and 4,000 tons, 30 to 50 times heavier than pyramid stones, any ancient builders would have achieved an engineering leap beyond known human capability. And they would have done it in a frozen wilderness without roads, cities, or evidence of the supporting civilization needed for such a feat. The deeper the examination, the stranger the implications. No nearby settlements, no trade routes, no quarries. Only isolation, ice, and stone. And yet the formation appears deliberate, as if its builders had access to knowledge and technology lost to history. Every angle suggests planning. Every flat face hints at purpose. And yet we have no context, no culture, no record. Just the raw challenge of human imagination confronting an impossible landscape. The viral images, combined with the silence of science, have created a modern paradox. Could humans have mastered such logistics in ancient Siberia? Or is the formation a trick of geology, pareidolia, or some rare natural alignment of forces that mimics intent? No archaeologist has confirmed the answer. Experts caution that photographs alone cannot settle the question, and the land itself offers clues and warnings. This is not the Nile Valley with predictable floods. It is not the Mediterranean with mild winters. Siberia is a frozen wilderness, capable of erasing evidence in decades, let alone millennia. Permafrost can bury, shift, and distort entire landscapes. Snow, ice, and rock combine to make survival and construction extraordinarily difficult. Any attempt to study the site in person carries extreme risk, and many digital explorers have only ever seen it through zoomed-in images. But if no ancient culture could have built this, and the environment makes construction impossible, how do we explain what millions of eyes insist they're seeing? The wilderness where anything could hide. Siberia is not merely remote. It is a void on the human map, a land realized but so underexplored it almost defies comprehension. Stretching over 13 catalogued square kilometers, it dwarfs the United States and Europe combined, yet enormous swaths remain untouched by systematic study. And the more closely you examine it, the more you realize how much might be hidden, places that no human eye has properly measured or catalogued. The Gornaya Shoria region is the perfect example.
Known as the Gornaya Shoria megaliths, these massive stone blocks, some weighing over 3,000 tons.
No permanent roads carve its valleys. No cities sit within easy reach. Cell service vanishes for miles. Travelers' surveys here are rare, separated by years or even decades. Reaching the area often requires helicopters, multi-day river journeys through waterways that freeze solid in winter, or overland treks through forests and mountains that have claimed unprepared travelers. Winter transforms entire valleys into death traps. Temperatures plunge past -40 degrees Fahrenheit, snowdrifts tower higher than houses, and storms can isolate anyone for days without rescue. Compare that to Egypt, Mesopotamia, or Europe, where 2 centuries of excavation have catalogued every temple, mapped every burial mound, and cross-referenced every artifact. Siberia, by contrast, has seen only surface-level surveys conducted decades apart. During the Soviet era, exploration focused on resources and military outposts, not human history. Mountains were noted as geologically interesting and then ignored. Vast territories were logged into databases and forgotten. This extreme isolation shapes perception. If no one has truly looked, systematically and thoroughly, then anything could be waiting. The remoteness itself becomes a kind of evidence, a permission to imagine, not proof, yet compelling nonetheless. And Siberia's environment intensifies the effect. Rivers freeze into solid highways in winter, only to become raging torrents in spring. Permafrost locks the ground into ice, shifting and cracking as temperatures fluctuate, moving boulders and collapsing slopes. Violent snowstorms arrive without warning, dropping visibility to zero. Dense taiga forests stretch for hundreds of kilometers, so thick that sunlight barely touches the forest floor. In summer, clouds of mosquitoes and biting flies make every outdoor excursion a trial. For tens of thousands of years, survival was humanity's primary concern here. The idea of massive stone construction seems almost absurd, and yet the harshness of the land also amplifies the monumental. Isolation transforms ambiguity into fascination.
These structures are around 100,000 years old, which pushes back what we know about human architecture by tens of thousands of years.
A formation appearing far from cities, beyond routine scientific scrutiny, and disconnected from documentation becomes a blank canvas for imagination. And that is exactly what happened with the Gornaya Shoria Wall. Satellite images of the region are low resolution, obscured by tree cover, or taken at angles that distort perspective. Russian geological surveys are often inaccessible internationally. Photos circulate online, stripped of context, scale, or commentary. Every new image fuels speculation rather than clarity. But dismissing the formation too quickly would ignore history. Siberia has a documented pattern of shocking discoveries in places once considered too remote to support complex human activity. In northeastern Siberia, near the Arctic Circle, the Yana rhinoceros horn site revealed that modern humans survived Arctic conditions 32,000 years ago, nearly 15,000 years earlier than experts expected. Beneath thick permafrost, archaeologists found butchered mammoth remains, precision-crafted ivory tools, and hearths that had burnt for generations. These were not temporary shelters. They were permanent settlements where families thrived under Ice Age conditions. Thousands of years later, along the Amnia River, excavations uncovered fortified settlements dating back roughly 8,000 years. These were planned constructions, raised earthworks, wooden palisades, and coordinated labor evident in every timber and every trench. Hunter-gatherer communities without agriculture or cities somehow built defenses, forcing historians to reconsider when collective construction first appeared in human societies. Siberian caves tell equally remarkable stories. The Dyuktai and Okladnikov caves preserve evidence of human occupation spanning 44,000 to 33,000 years ago. Stone tools show refined knapping techniques passed down through generations. Evidence from Okladnikov hints at interactions between modern humans and other hominins, perhaps Denisovans or Neanderthals. These were not crude, random rocks. They were deliberate instruments demonstrating technological knowledge sustained across millennia. Even art survived in Siberia's ice. The Pazyryk culture in the Altai Mountains left frozen burial mounds, or kurgans, preserving mummies tattooed with deer, griffins, warriors, and mythical creatures.
Griffins were very popular in Scythian art. Scholars believe that the tattoos may have offered some sort of magical protection.
These were not mere decorations. They were narratives, belief systems, and identities inked into skin, enduring centuries in permafrost. And finally, Porbazhin, an 8th century fortress on Terekol Lake, demonstrates large-scale Siberian construction. Stone foundations, timber superstructures, and geometric precision. Its purpose, whether monastery, palace, or ceremonial site, remains debated. But its presence proves that intentional engineering was possible here, even in extreme environments. All of this proves that Siberia is not empty. Humans did more than survive. They organized, built, created, and innovated under conditions that challenge modern survival equipment. If people thrived 32,000 years ago in the Arctic, built fortifications 8,000 years ago, and created sophisticated art in impossible conditions, then what else could be waiting beneath snow, ice, and forest? So when millions see deliberate construction while scientists insist it's geology, who's right, and what aren't we seeing? When your brain becomes the enemy. Here's where the story gets uncomfortable. Your eyes are lying to you. The same photographs that millions swear show ancient engineering are the exact images geologists use to teach students about natural rock fractures. Sharp corners, flat surfaces, and shadowed edges suggest deliberate construction. Circular holes seem drilled, and surfaces appear polished. For millions online, these images are proof of a lost megalithic wall. But geologists see something very different: a natural rock formation, textbook examples of how stone fractures and weathers over time. The problem isn't the rocks. It's us. Our brains are wired to detect patterns, even where none exist. Scientists call it pareidolia. It's why we see faces in clouds, animals in ink blots, and deliberate construction in random boulders. Evolution favored this instinct. Spotting predators in shadows or recognizing humans at a distance could mean life or death. Today, that same instinct spreads viral mysteries faster than facts. Gornaya Sharia hits every visual trigger. Zoom in and surfaces look unnaturally smooth. Pull back and shadows carve sharp angles where erosion actually left slopes.
Are these colossal stones the remains of an advanced prehistoric civilization, or are they simply a fascinating result of natural geological processes?
Low-resolution images blur texture, turning jagged granite into something almost polished. Crop a frame, tweak contrast, add a dramatic filter, and suddenly a mountain looks like it was carved by industrial tools. The illusion becomes nearly perfect, and social media amplifies it exponentially. YouTube videos, Reddit threads, and Instagram posts. Every image spreads, overlaid with arrows pointing to right angles, and circles highlighting alleged tool marks. Millions of users insist the formation is human-made. When thousands affirm a claim, your brain leans toward confirmation. One viral post can convince tens of thousands of viewers in hours, creating a feedback loop that makes the formation look intentional, even if it is not. Geology tells a different story. Granite, the dominant rock in the region, fractures along straight planes through a process called orthogonal jointing. Millions of years of tectonic stress create cracks along predictable weaknesses. Vertical fractures meet horizontal bedding planes, forming natural right angles. Over time, freeze-thaw cycles amplify the effect. Water seeps into cracks, freezes, expands, and splits rock. Repeat this thousands of times, and you get flat faces, sharp edges, and what looks like stacking, all created by nature, no tools required. Wind, chemical weathering, and differences in rock hardness add to the illusion. Softer layers erode faster, leaving harder blocks standing tall. When these forces act on jointed granite, the result can look astonishingly architectural. Vertical walls, horizontal layering, and corners near 90 degrees. Similar formations exist worldwide. Svartifoss in Iceland rises between hexagonal basalt columns that seem laser-cut and entirely natural. Madagascar's Chingi de Bemaraha features limestone pinnacles aligned like ruins. The Lena pillars in Siberia itself rise like fortress walls, shaped by permafrost and river erosion, yet untouched by human hands. Gornaya Sharia fits this pattern perfectly. Its vertical faces reflect freeze-thaw weathering along natural joint planes. Its massive scale mirrors the underlying granite pluton exposed by millions of years of erosion. Apparent alignment follows stress patterns in the bedrock dictated by tectonics. From a distance, it looks deliberate. Up close, it may be entirely natural. And yet, doubt persists. The scale overwhelms perception. Vertical faces look too precise. Isolation seems almost theatrical. Professional geologists caution that without on-the-ground measurements, close examination of mineralogy, and detailed mapping of jointing, no one can rule out the faint possibility of human modification. Photographs alone, especially low-resolution images, cannot provide certainty. In that gap, mystery thrives. Our minds crave resolution. Ambiguous stimuli demand interpretation. Clouds become animals. Shadows become faces. Rocks become monuments. Pattern recognition is involuntary. Evolution taught us to favor false positives over false negatives. It's better to mistake a bush for a predator than to ignore a predator hiding in a bush. Now, in a digital age, that same instinct misleads millions, turning geology into a viral enigma. We live in a paradox. Science offers plausible explanations, grounded in processes observed worldwide. Freeze-thaw cycles, jointing, and erosion all account for the illusion. Yet the formation looks deliberate. The blocks appear perfectly shaped. Alignment seems intentional. Even when the mind knows the mechanisms, the eyes insist on construction. That tension between evidence and perception is what fuels fascination, debate, and virality. And still, one question remains. If the formation is natural, why does it trigger such strong instinctive recognition of order? And if humans modified it, why has no one examined it up close? No field study, no high-resolution survey, no academic expedition has definitively settled the debate. Until someone ventures into Gornaya Sharia, measures every face, and analyses every fracture, the formation exists in that liminal space between natural wonder and human imagination. The frozen mystery that won't die. No archaeologist has ever set foot in Gornaya Sharia. No carbon dating has been done. No tool marks have been examined with microscopes. No artifacts have been collected, cataloged, or analyzed. No geological cores have been drilled to study rock composition or weathering patterns. There is no peer-reviewed study. All the world possesses are photographs, shaky videos, and endless online speculation, millions of forum posts, thousands of hours of YouTube analysis, and countless Reddit debates. Yet not a single formal scientific investigation has been conducted. In every meaningful sense, the formation remains untouched by the disciplines that could definitively explain it. Why hasn't anyone gone there? The answer is simple, but unsatisfying. It is one of the most expensive, dangerous, and logistically complicated places on Earth to reach. Helicopter access costs tens of thousands of dollars and is dependent on the weather, which can change in minutes. Overland travel means days of trekking through dense forests, jagged mountains, and river crossings. Experienced outdoorsmen have died attempting the journey, underestimating the terrain and Siberia's deadly extremes. Winter transforms the region into a frozen wasteland. Temperatures drop far below -40 degrees Celsius. Snowdrifts can swallow entire valleys, erasing trails and landmarks. One wrong step or minor equipment failure can be fatal. Summer offers no real reprieve. Rivers swell with snowmelt, dense taiga forests slow progress to a crawl, and swarms of mosquitoes and biting flies turn every moment outdoors into torment. There is no nearby city to serve as a base, no roads to support vehicle transport, and no infrastructure to sustain scientific teams. Every serious expedition demands meticulous planning, specialized cold weather gear, emergency protocols, Russian permits, and vast funding. Universities and research institutions rarely authorize trips based solely on viral images without preliminary evidence of scientific significance. Satellite imagery offers little help. Most available images are low resolution, obscured by tree canopy, and taken from angles that distort perception. Ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR, photogrammetry, and detailed geological surveys could provide answers, but those require specialized teams, heavy equipment, permits, and budgets running into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many geologists examining the images believe the formation is simply natural jointing and erosion, seeing no justification for the enormous expense and risk of investigation. So the formation sits in a strange limbo, not proven artificial, not definitively natural, not forgotten, yet untouched. It occupies a space where the absence of evidence becomes whatever viewers want it to be. For enthusiasts, the lack of investigation proves mainstream science ignores inconvenient anomalies. For skeptics, it proves there is nothing worth studying, just another rock formation. Both interpretations feed on the same vacuum of information. Both remain unfalsifiable without data, and both keep the mystery alive, endlessly debated but never resolved. What makes this compelling is Siberia's track record. Time and again, this wilderness has produced discoveries that forced archaeologists to revise their assumptions about what humans could accomplish in extreme environments. That precedent alone keeps the possibility alive. Each discovery forced archaeologists to admit they had underestimated human ingenuity in Siberia. This precedent keeps the door open. If humans repeatedly surprised us in the harshest environments, what might Gornaya Shoria conceal? Not necessarily proof of lost civilizations, but perhaps something unexpected, signs of localized quarrying, ritual modifications of natural formations, or evidence of a culture we have yet to identify. Or just as likely, it is exactly what geologists say: granite fractures, millions of years of freeze-thaw weathering, and the illusion created by our pattern-seeking brains. The wall could simply be nature arranging stone into forms that mimic human intention. The truth remains unknown, and that uncertainty, frustrating to scientists who rely on evidence and intoxicating to enthusiasts who crave possibility, is what keeps the story circulating. The formation exists in photographs that millions have scrutinized. It lives in debates that never reach consensus. It persists in imaginations that cannot let go of what those images seem to show. In a world where satellites map every square meter, drones reach the most remote valleys, and smartphones allow anyone to explore Earth virtually, it is almost unimaginable that something so visually striking and so globally debated remains scientifically unexamined. Yet it does. The mystery persists not because evidence supports it, but because evidence is absent. Until someone, whether a well-funded archaeological team, an adventurous geologist, or a determined explorer, ventures into the formation with the proper tools, methods, and rigor, Gornaya Shoria will remain exactly what it is today: a frozen enigma, a visual puzzle caught between geology and speculation, a reminder that even in a fully mapped world, corners still exist that refuse explanation. The rocks are there, the images exist, the debates rage on, but the truth? The truth is buried somewhere in the Siberian wilderness, waiting for someone brave, curious, or stubborn enough to uncover it. Thanks for watching. Please click the cards on the screen now for more interesting videos.